So, this is Drunk Opera Reviews. I am still Miss Fern. I am still drinking a lot of whiskey. Okay. Hopefully we'll get through this take. Well, that's a bad sign. Okay. Alright, so tonight we're going to be doing La Boheme. And I'm not crazy at La Boheme. Like, it's definitely has its moments, and there's definitely gorgeous singing and everything, but not super crazy about it. But if you do have the chance to go see it, definitely go see it. Okay, so we basically got 4 main characters, which are breaking down into 2 couples, and we've got more stick figures because clearly I failed art class. We've got Rodolfo. He is a poor writer. He's in love with Mimi, who is a poor embroiderer. And then we've got Marcello, who's a poor painter. He's in love with, what's that? Musetta. She's an escort. Okay. Musetta and Marcello, just so you know, they've got some history, just so you know. Okay, let's get into this thing. So, opera starts. Marcello, who's the poor painter, and Rodolfo, who's the poor writer, they're living together in this terrible, drafty attic apartment in France in the winter. So they pretty much resort to burning Rodolfo's unsold writings, in order to stay warm because they're freezing. So they're kind of, kicking it, and some other friends show up and are like, one of their friends says, hey, I've just came into some money, this is awesome, I've got food, got wine, and they're like, hell yeah, let's eat. And their friend's like, no, I'm gonna save this food for a real emergency. And they're like, really? We're freaking hungry, we're poor. But their friend's like, no, but I've got some money left over, so let's go to this cafe and get some food. And we're like, hell yeah. But of course they crack into the wine because who wouldn't? And their landlord comes knocking on the door and is like, hey, you guys haven't paid me rent for months. What the hell? You owe me. And they're kind of looking at each other like, oh crap, we don't have enough money to pay rent. So they're telling their landlord, hey, have some wine! Yay, wine! So their landlord keeps drinking, and they keep telling their landlord, oh, I've heard you're really popular with the ladies. And the landlord at first is like, no, he's denying it, but finally he's like, you know it, I'm popular with the ladies. So they're like, oh my god, you're married, and they throw him out. They don't really care that he's married. They just can't pay their rent, so they're pretending to be offended. So my friends are like, yeah, let's go hit that cafe. But Rodolfo's like, I've got a couple more lines I need to write on this article for this newspaper. Give me a minute. So they're like, all right, no worries. We'll meet you downstairs. So Rodolfo sits down and he starts writing, and there's a knock on the door, and it's this beautiful woman, and she's like, hey, sorry to bother you, I'm actually your neighbor, and my candle blew out. She's never heard of matches, apparently. That's a foreign concept to her, but she's like, hey, can you light my candle? And he's like, yeah, sure. And suddenly she feels faint, and he's like, hey, you should sit down and have some wine. How's there wine left over? My friends, there would never be wine left over, but he gives her some wine, and she's like, okay, I feel better, and he lights her candle, and then she realizes, oh crap, I've lost my room key. I can't get back to my room. So he's like, oh crap, I'll try to help you find it. So they're searching for a room key, and suddenly a draft blows through the attic apartment, blows both their candles out. So they're fumbling around in the dark, and he finds the key, and he's like, hey, and she's like, oh, did you find the key? And he's like, no, there's a key? What? Is that what we're doing? No, I don't find a key. But, by moonlight, he can see her and she can see him. So he's like, hey, tell me about yourself. And she's like, yeah, I'm poor, and I embroider flowers, and like I live over there, and that's it. But you know, it takes me like 20 minutes to say that in the opera, so I just saved you 19 and a half minutes. But he's like, oh yeah, all my friends are going out to this cafe, you should come with us. So she's like, okay. So they go downstairs, they meet his friends, they're walking to the cafe, and there's street vendors out, and she's like, oh, you should buy me this bonnet, because it's pretty. Who does that on a first date? Ooh, shiny, buy this for me. Brand new person I'm on the first date with. Who does that? I don't know. But he buys her a bonnet, and is like, oh, it goes with your dark hair. So they go to the cafe, and who shows up but Marcello's ex, Musetta. And again, she's an escort, so she's there with an older guy who she really doesn't like. She sees Marcello, she sees her, and you can tell, like, there's a connection here, like, that hasn't been ended. So she gets up and sings this sexy song about, oh yeah, when I walk down the street, all the guys look at me, and her escort, the old dude, is like, I don't think this is appropriate. And she's like, oh really? Oh my god, my shoe just broke. Go fix my shoe. And he's like, really? And she's like, now. Shoe. Fix. So he runs off to fix her shoe. And in the meantime, Mimi and Rodolfo and Marcello have realized they do not have enough money to cover this cafe bill. So they're like freaking out, like, oh crap, what do we do? Musetta steps in and is like, oh sweetie, I've got this. Takes their bill, adds it to her bill, and tells the waiter, oh yeah, when that old guy comes back with my fixed shoe, give these bills to him. And they book it. Alright, some indeterminate amount of time later, excuse me, whiskey. Apparently Rodolfo has completely ditched Mimi. She has no idea where she is, so she's like wandering around looking for him, and hears that he might be at this one tavern/inn. So she goes there, and who walks out but Marcello, Rodolfo's BFF. And he walks out to like get a breath of fresh air in the middle of winter. Alright, whatever. So she's like, hey, I've been looking for Rodolfo because his ass left me and I have no idea where he is or what the hell is going on. And Marcello's just like, yeah, he's here. I really don't know what's going on either. So Mimi like hides behind a tree, all sneaky sneak, and Rodolfo comes out, and Marcello's like, what the hell? Like, why did you leave Mimi? They've been living together for like days, if not weeks, at this inn/tavern, and he's just now asking why his bestie left the girl he's in love with. Okay. And at first Rodolfo's like, oh, I'm just too jealous, I can't stand it when she looks at another man. And Marcello's like, okay dude, like what's the real reason? And finally Rodolfo's like, alright, look, she's sick. And she can't live with me because my room doesn't have heat. And if she lives with me, she's just gonna get sicker and sicker. Like, she just can't live with me. We can't be together. So Mimi kind of like pops out from behind the tree and is like, oh my god, I still love you. And he's like, oh my god, I still love you too. So they embrace, and they basically decide that they're going to stay together until spring, and in spring they will part. And while they're having like this really heavy, deep conversation, Marcello and Musetta are like in this bitch fight because Musetta was dancing with another man and Marcello's not having it, and Musetta's like, I want a boyfriend, not a husband. Meh. So she pieces out. Marcello's like, meh, you suck. So they kind of go their separate ways. We don't really know what happens there. Alright. Last act of the opera. Cheers. we've got, whew, we've got Marcello and Rodolfo back in the same attic apartment. Did they pay their rent? How did they get back in there? I don't know. So Marcello's like all butthurt about Musetta because they broke up again. And Rodolfo's all butthurt about Mimi because they split in the spring and it's now late spring, early summer, somewhere in there. And Rodolfo still has that bonnet that he bought Mimi, and it's just like, I love her. And Marcello's like, I love Musetta. So they're just hanging out, and suddenly Musetta breaks in and is like, holy crap, guys. By the way, Mimi's like been an escort for this rich dude, but now she's downstairs and she's like dying. So we've got problems and she can't make it upstairs. She doesn't have the strength. So Rodolfo's like, holy crap. So he goes downstairs and he helps her upstairs. And all the friends are there and they're like, oh my god. So Musetta takes her earrings out and she gives it to one of the guys and is like, go sell these and buy medicine. And one of the other guys like runs off and is like, I'm gonna sell my coat. So they go out and they buy medicine and they come back, and while they're gone, Mimi's like, oh my god, is everyone gone? And Rodolfo's like, yeah, we're like out getting medicine for you. She's like, okay, I was pretending to be asleep because I just like wanted to talk to you. And Rodolfo's like, yeah, I love you too. And Mimi's like, yeah, I love you too. And then they come back, friends come back with the medicine, they give her the medicine, and she drinks it, and they also give her a fur muff, which you put your hands into to keep your hands warm. You know, you live in cold climates, you know what that is. And she thinks like Rodolfo gave it to her, so she's like, oh my god, Rodolfo, I love it. And he's like, yeah, sure, I totally gave it to you. It actually was so good, but... And then Mimi just dies. And all the friends are like, oh crap. And they're like looking away. And Rodolfo's like, why are you looking away? Why are you looking away? And then he looks down. Mimi's dead. And he's like, no! And he like collapses to the floor in grief. Alright. So, again, that's La Boheme. I liked it. Not as much as I've liked other operas, but I would still definitely recommend you see it at least once. Alright, this is Drunk Opera Reviews. I'm still Miss Fern, as far as I can tell. Something, hit like, subscribe, I guess. And yeah, I'll see you at the opera.